The wind was cold on the 27th floor, sharp and almost whispering its own goodbye as it whipped through the broken silence. A young woman, no older than 25, stood at the edge of the rooftop, her fingers trembling as they gripped the railing. Her face was pale, lips cracked, eyes hollow from nights she hadn't really slept. The city behind her was alive, bustling, unaware. But here, time had paused. Here, her world had collapsed into a single choice. Her name was Maya, a once brilliant architecture student, full of dreams and sketches of homes she wanted to build for people who had none. But life had its cruel twists. Within 1 year, she lost her mother to cancer, her father to abandonment, her scholarship to grief, and her will to survive to sheer exhaustion. She had no one left. And now, she stood on that rooftop not because she wanted to die, but because she couldn't bear to keep living. People think the jump is about fear. It's not. It's about silence. The kind that screams so loud it empties your soul. And just as Maya closed her eyes to take the final step, a voice cut through the wind like a lifeline. "Hey!" A deep, breathless voice, raw, unpolished, not from someone trying to stop her because it was their duty, but because something in that voice felt desperate too. She didn't look at him. "Not today," he said again, louder this time, firmer. "Whatever you're going through, today's not the day." She finally turned her head. Standing several feet away was a man, about 35, wearing an old leather jacket, the kind that looked like it had stories sewn into its seams. In his arms was a little girl, barely 6 years old, bundled in a pink hoodie, her thumb in her mouth, her big brown eyes locked onto Maya. "I was just walking my daughter home from school," the man continued, gently rocking the child. "We took a shortcut because the bakery downstairs gives out free bread after 6. She saw you from the parking lot. She said, 'Daddy, that lady looks like she's saying goodbye.'" Maya blinked. The child's stare was piercing. Innocent, but heavy. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he added, slowly stepping closer. "But, can I just sit here with you for a bit?" Why would he ask that? He wasn't yelling at her. He wasn't threatening to call the police. He didn't try to heroically leap forward. He asked to sit with her. Maya said nothing, but she didn't move either. "I'm Jesse," he said, easing himself down carefully to the ground, still holding his daughter. "This little whirlwind is Ella." Ella waved, still sucking her thumb, her other hand holding a toy giraffe missing an ear. Jesse sighed, his breath visible in the chill. "It's been a rough year. I lost my wife last winter. Car accident. Snow and black ice. One moment she was on her way to get hot chocolate, next moment, the world changed." Maya didn't answer. But her fingers, once white with tension, slowly loosened their grip on the edge. "I almost gave up too," Jesse admitted, glancing at Ella. "But this one, she keeps asking me questions I don't know how to answer. Like, where do mommies go when they can't come home? Or, why do stars cry at night? And you know what, I don't always have an answer. But I know one thing, if I gave up, who would tell her stories about her mother? Who'd teach her how to ride a bike or embarrass her at graduation?" Maya finally spoke, her voice hoarse. "But you have her. You have someone." He didn't argue. He just nodded. "You're right. I do. And I'm holding on to that with everything I've got. But I didn't always have someone. When I was your age, I was living out of my car. No family, no future. One night, I sat in the exact same place you're standing now. And a stranger saved me. All he did was sit with me. Told me about his dog, about the ocean, about nothing in particular. But he gave me one thing I couldn't find on my own, presence." Jesse reached into his pocket and pulled out a granola bar, offering it like it was a peace treaty. "You look hungry. And I know this might sound stupid, but sometimes, before making a big decision, you need a little food. Just one bite. Maya stared at the bar. Her stomach grumbled. She hadn't eaten all day. She stepped back from the edge. Ella smiled. Do you want to sit with us? Jessie gently placed the bar on the concrete and added, you don't owe us anything. But if you can sit with us just until the sun sets, and if you still want to jump after that, I won't stop you. Maya sat. Not because she trusted him, but because the silence was finally broken, and in that moment, she didn't want to be alone. They watched the sky turn gold, then amber, then deep purple. Jessie didn't ask her questions. He just told stories, about Ella's obsession with dinosaurs, about how he once painted his kitchen lime green on accident, about how grief makes no sense and how it doesn't need to. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya finally spoke. I used to want to build homes. I wanted people to have places where they felt safe. Like no matter what, they belonged. Jessie looked at her with gentle eyes. Maybe that dream isn't dead. Maybe it's just waiting. The wind picked up again, but this time, it didn't feel as cold. Thank you, she whispered, and for the first time in months, she meant it. Before we continue to chapter 2, if this story touched your heart even a little, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us share more stories that might just save someone's life. It had been 3 weeks since the rooftop. 3 weeks since Maya sat on cold concrete with a granola bar in her hand, listening to the wind carry Jessie's soft stories into a sky that, for once, didn't feel like it was pressing down on her. The fall she'd planned never came. Instead, she fell into something unexpected, hope. Weak, fragile, trembling hope, but hope nonetheless. The day after, Jessie didn't pressure her. He just gave her his number, a wrinkled paper from Ella's sketchpad, with crayon on one side and digits scrawled on the other. Just in case, he had said. Even if it's just to talk. Maya hadn't called for 3 days. Then, one morning, she texted, do you still go to that bakery? He replied instantly, every Wednesday. They give Ella cookies. Want to join us? She showed up. At first, it was awkward. Maya barely spoke. Jessie didn't pry. Ella chattered about dinosaurs, how she thought clouds were made of whipped cream, and how her toy giraffe now had a paper crown because she declared it queen. Every time Maya laughed, a real laugh, it startled her. Her muscles weren't used to the sound anymore. The next week, Jessie invited her to the park. Ella thinks you're magic, he said. She told me you made the sadness go away when you sat down. Maya shook her head. She's got it backwards. You too, you brought me back. The truth was, Maya hadn't magically healed. The pain was still there, raw, deep, like someone had scraped out part of her and left the wound open. But it hurt less when she was with them. And slowly, she started showing up more. She learned that Jessie worked 2 jobs, night shifts at a gas station and afternoons at a bookstore. He was barely keeping things together, but you'd never guess it from the way he smiled at Ella or offered strangers directions like he had all the time in the world. He lived in a tiny apartment on the 2nd floor of an old building with a busted heater and peeling wallpaper. One evening, as they all sat on a park bench under the setting sun, Maya finally asked, why did you stop me that day? I mean, you didn't know me. Jessie stared out at the trees, his jaw tightening. Because I know what it's like to feel like nobody would notice if you disappeared. And I also know that's a lie. We convince ourselves we don't matter. That we're burdens. But someone always notices. Even if it's a 6-year-old with a giraffe and sticky hands. Maya swallowed hard. I was so sure there was nothing left for me. And now? Jessie asked quietly. She looked at Ella, who was dancing in circles with her toy. I don't know, she said honestly. But for the first time. I want to find out. Maya started therapy. It was Jesse's idea, gently suggested after she had a panic attack in the grocery store. She expected him to walk away. Instead, he bought her a bottle of water, held her hand in silence, and waited until her breathing returned. The sessions were hard, memories she'd buried clawed their way out. But week by week, she started understanding her pain instead of running from it. Jesse became her anchor. Not a savior, he never tried to be. He was just there. Consistently. Kindly. And Maya? She found herself looking for small joys again. She picked up her sketchbook. She began drawing buildings, parks, homes, safe spaces. And one day, she showed Jesse a sketch of a rooftop garden. "This," she said, her eyes shining, "is the place I wish existed that night. Somewhere someone could go and remember that they're not alone." He studied it carefully. "Then we should build it." She laughed. "Right. Because two broke people with too much trauma are totally going to launch a city project." Jesse smiled. "You'd be surprised what hope can build." They started small, local grants, community meetings, social media pages. Maya was nervous. She wasn't used to being seen. But her story, shared carefully and with vulnerability, resonated. People reached out. Volunteers offered time. Donations trickled in. 6 months later, the city approved the project. The rooftop that once nearly ended her life became the foundation for something greater, a sanctuary named The Haven. Designed by Maya, funded by community love, and built with trembling hands that once nearly let go. At the grand opening, Maya stood on that same rooftop. Only this time, she wasn't alone. The sun was setting, casting golden light over new benches, small trees, a glass wall overlooking the skyline. Jesse stood beside her, Ella on his shoulders, waving at every stranger like they were old friends. Reporters asked questions. Maya answered with grace. But when one woman asked her, "What do you want people to remember when they visit this place?" her voice caught for a moment. She looked around. At Jesse. At Ella. At the garden blooming where despair once lived. And then she said, "I want them to remember that sometimes, it just takes one person. One voice that says, 'Not today.' One hand to hold you steady. One reason to stay. And if they don't have someone, this place will remind them that hope still exists. That they matter. That they belong." The crowd clapped, but it was Ella who shouted, "She's a hero." Jesse looked at Maya. "You saved yourself. I just brought the snack." Maya laughed, eyes filled with tears. That night, Maya sat on the rooftop bench, alone for a moment. She traced her fingers along the railing, no longer the edge of an end, but now the start of something beautiful. She whispered to the wind, "Thank you for that, not today." Behind her, Jesse joined her quietly. No words needed. If you made it this far in the video, take a deep breath. You're still here. And you matter more than you know. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep telling stories that remind people, you are never alone. Your story isn't over.